Good morning, YouTube. Today I am going to be reacting to the case of Sincere and Classic, also known as Orrin and Orson West. Sincere was killed in Bakersfield. He never made his way, and Classic may have been there for a couple of days before he too came up missing. The boy, Ryan Dean, the mother of these two young boys, have filed a lawsuit. She claims that the boys were illegally removed from her custody. Then the boys were awarded to Cincere and Jacqueline West. The Wests have been charged with murdering the two boys. They were renamed Orrin and Orson. Miss Ryan Dean says she had tried unsuccessfully to regain custody of her sons, but her sons were reported missing in December of 2020. You know, when I was watching Jacqueline West and Trezell West, it seemed like they were reading from a script when they reported these boys missing. I kept looking at their face to see if they would show any emotion, if they would cry or break down, and there was nothing. She talked about these two little boys like she talked about them like they were somebody that she didn't know. Like she was reading from a script. I remember thinking something is not right. Trezell and Jacqueline West now face charges of second-degree murder and child abuse and filing a fake police report. They are also being charged with lying about what really happened to Cincere and Classic. Law enforcement searched for these children for 12 months. They came to the conclusion that Cincere and Classic were not missing but dead. The children's bodies have not been found. Cincere and Classic were only 3 and 4 when they were reported missing. Ryan Dean says her sons should have never been placed in foster care or the West care. Miss Dean also said, I am not a criminal and I do not have a bad record. Miss Ryan Dean lost custody of her children in 2016. Miss Ryan Dean said she came home from work and her son was crying uncontrollably. She said they took him to the emergency room where it was discovered that he had two broken legs. But their father, Charles Pettis says he had given his son 2 baths. He was the one watching the baby. Says that he had given his son 2 baths and nothing else had happened. And I'm saying, yeah, right. But when Ryan Dean took her son to the hospital, the doctors discovered that both his legs were broken. How does a 3-month-old child end up with not one broken leg but two? How does that happen? The father, Charles Pettis, said he only gave him 2 baths. A 3-month-old cannot walk. They cannot even turn over at 3 months. In my opinion, this sounds like child abuse to me. It was at that point that Cincere was placed in foster care because the doctors felt he was being abused. And in my opinion, he probably was. But I checked to see if any charges were ever filed against Charles Pettis, and I couldn't find anything. Miss Ryan Dean had parenting classes trying to regain custody of her sons. Miss Dean was allowed to visit Classic on a regular basis, but as a result of the stressful situation, her doctors recommended that she start smoking marijuana, and any and all attempts to be united with her son were denied. I wonder, why would a doctor recommend somebody smoke marijuana? Jesus. All right, so let's move on. In June of 2017, she gave birth to Classic, and although her second child was released to her custody, um, this child was also removed by Kern County Human Services Department a few days later. So now she has two young children that are caught up in the system. Her sons were removed from their foster home and placed in the care of Jacqueline and Cincere West in late 2018. Miss Dean was never told that her sons were about to move, and she began to see them less and less. They seemed to be losing weight. The boy, one of her sons, had a scratch on his face, and Miss Ryan reported this to the Department of Human Services, and Human Services never got back to them. That's crazy. She reported it, and they never got back to her. Just 2 years after the West took custody of the two boys, they are reported missing and presumed dead. And if it was me who got those two little boys, I would have loved them and hugged them and gave them plenty of kisses. Lord have mercy. The West have been charged and found guilty of second-degree manslaughter. Cincere West was given 15 years to life in prison with no parole. Jacqueline West was sentenced to 15 years in prison with no parole. Let me show you that picture. Hold on. These two people, they deserve whatever. There they go. That is Jacqueline and Cincere West right there. They deserve exactly what they got. Oh, even though she cried, even though Jacqueline West cried and asked the judge for mercy, the same mercy that she did not show to Cincere and Classic. But this story does come with a twist of karma. The West had two biological children and two adopted children, all under the age of 10 at the time. These children were able to give testimony as to what was happening in the home to Cincere and Classic. This is what led to the arrest of Jacqueline and Cincere West. But the children have now been placed in foster care. They are now wards of the state, which is why Jacqueline West cried during the sentencing. But just like the judge told her, Miss West, you are not the victim here. I personally would love to know where the bodies are of Cincere and Classic. These two people have never said what they did with the bodies of those young boys. And even though they have been convicted of murdering those two young boys, they have still never told the public or the family members where those young boys are. And inquiring minds want to know, what did you do with the bodies of those two young boys? All right, guys, this is just my reaction to the case of Cincere and Classic, who are also named Orrin and Orson West. It's just a shame, that all this